Can we have a conversation about FBAs? Because at the end of the day, y'all are actual walking contradictions. Y'all are upholding another man's views and values on other black people who aren't American for what? And then y'all go on and be like, oh, well, they disrespect us and da 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 da. We know this, but y'all really don't. You want to know how we know y'all really don't? Because everything is based offline. Y'all don't have experiences on your own to actually take from. Now me, I do. I've actually got discriminated against towards Caribbeans and Nigerians before. Do I hold that against them? No, because I've met so many more that outweighs them. That's what I'm saying. You gotta actually have these experiences for real. Y'all hear it, y'all see it online, and y'all automatically associate it with yourself. And then y'all go on these little tangents, weird prejudices, tangents, not realizing that you are upholding white supremacy. If you don't want to uphold white supremacy, you cannot have any type of hatred or prejudices against any other race. Because at the end of the day, you will be upholding white supremacy. So if you are FBA, and you claim to be a FBA, you uphold white supremacy. You do. You uphold it society-wise because you do it towards Caribbean and African people. You uphold it very sexist-wise because a lot of FBAs don't actually like to hear black women speak. Can we actually talk about that? How a lot of FBAs are actually men, and how the men who don't like to hear what we have to say, and the FBA women who are out there, they don't want to hear it either because they have internalized misogyny. At the end of the day, y'all are holding bits and pieces of standards that are all lumped up into white supremacy. All of it. You cannot battle white supremacy and then uphold it in the same sentence. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. You cannot say that you are fighting white supremacy while you are calling Caribbean and African people tethers or teethers or whatever the fuck this shit means. Whatever the fuck it is. It doesn't solve anything. It doesn't help the black community either. And what I also noticed with a lot of FBAs, y'all don't do shit for the black community. Y'all have all this opinion and all this talk, but with nothing to back it up with. Just hatred. Just straight, plain hatred. Y'all are following another 50-year-old man's views. He's not even a politician. He has nothing behind him that is worthy of this follow besides being an internet personality. Y'all are listening to a person who do this shit for clout. Y'all are the weakest link of black people because y'all are so easily influenced. So easily influenced. You're literally no better than the Caribbean African people who do hold prejudices against black Americans. You're no better. You cannot call out those people while doing the same thing to those people. Like y'all walking literal like hypocrites. Y'all don't even notice it. It's how hypocritical y'all really are.
As an African living in the United States, I used to share the same sentiment that Africans share about African Americans because I had a hard time when I first moved here. People used to always tell me, you're not black enough, you're an Oreo, you're secretly white on the inside, as if I wasn't literally from Africa. But I now understand after living here for 8 years that black in the United States is a very specific criteria and anything outside of that just doesn't fit. But I want to help African Americans understand that Africans coming to the United States are immigrants, first and foremost. Then they are Nigerian or Senegalese or whatever country they're from. And then at some point, they are black. But Africans don't put black high up on their identity well as much as African Americans do. And that is for legitimate reasons on both ends. And so when an African is coming to the United States, they're thinking to themselves, okay, I'm an immigrant here. I have to do my best for myself and my family back home. The sacrifices that took for me to get here were no light work, okay? So I need to really align myself with what's going to make me successful in this country. And because it's the United States, it's the dominant culture, which is white American culture. And so Africans are going to instinctively ally themselves with the culture that's going to give them the most success. I mean, African Americans even admit that they have to code switch to be successful here because that's what brings success. And so Africans are like, all right, we'll do that. And it also doesn't help that for a long time, Africans are fed a very negative view of Black American culture, and that's its own propaganda. But because Africans are so conservative and they're coming to a country where Black Americans have been labeled as the antithesis to this conservative traditional family values, they have, if anything, more in common with like Southern Baptist white racist people. But that aside, going back to identity markers, Black Americans put Black first and foremost, and then everything else goes below it. And so they're thinking when another Black people come to our country, they're going to want to integrate with us, the other Black people, because duh, Black comes first. And they get quickly disappointed in realizing that for Africans, Black and the identity and that coming is not first. Their immigrant identity comes first, and then their country. And if anything, for us as Africans to feel like that's my brother, that's my brethren, or whatever, you have to come from the same tribe as us, because we have so many Black people around, we don't automatically pre-select for Black. But Black Americans don't have so many Black people around, have had to defend and protect their culture amidst a dominant white culture. And so they are already pre-select and are overprotective for Black. And so that's why I think at the core of it, there's like a deep misunderstanding because of not realizing that we put where we put our identity markers and what we put first and what we prioritize are so different culturally because of our differences in trauma, realistically. And so it does make sense that Black Americans will be like, oh, my people, my brethrens, come here. And African Americans, or Africans, sorry, coming to the United States are like, I'm just trying to make it here. Like, it's a lot of work to immigrate to the United States. And so y'all can stay over there, and I can see why it's hurtful, and I can see why it's taken personally, and I can see the deep misunderstanding and the betrayal that African Americans feel. But it's unfortunate, and that's just a reality. But if we can talk about it from this perspective, I think we can get to a better understanding. But I also believe that Africans that spend enough time in the United States get to this compassion and understanding of the Black American community, because it is a very unique and specific set of circumstances for a culture to grow and to develop.
Think of America as 50 different countries. So Black people from 50 different countries, we decided that we were going to operate as one and see ourselves as one, because we had to survive within the confines of America, of this continent being here since 1619 till now. We had to come together as one. And once again, remember looking at it through not as America as one country, but break America up into 50 different countries. That's what happened. Black people throughout these 50 different countries, or states as we call them, the states, all 50 states, Black people decided that we got to operate as one. Now, for the most part, we did that. Of course, we know it wasn't 100%, but that was the idea. That's the mindset. That's how we operate. That's how we roll, because it was unique to our situation for our survival and for our advancement. Now, remember, when the Europeans pulled up in Africa, one of the greatest tools that they had was being able to play on the tribalism that already existed in Africa before they got there. I watched when I was scrolling through putting the clips together for this video. It was another video that I wanted to add to it, but I couldn't download the video. But there was a brother basically breaking down the tribalism in Africa, the way that different groups of people, different tribes, different cultures, they see each other different. So we put race first because that's how we had to roll. They put whatever they need to put first because that's how they roll. And then the race things comes last. But even like the young lady articulated, they don't see themselves the same way we see ourselves. They don't see themselves as one of us when they get here. Now, is that 100% for all non-FBA? No, because like Pat, like PC, like a bunch of us, hey, my godfather is Ghanaian. I'm gonna say that again. My godfather is Ghanaian. Most of the people that I grew up with, Africans, like some of my greatest people I know, like the Africans that I know, there's no tribalism between the Africans that I know, because the ones that I know, the ones that I've operated with, the ones that I've done community work with, ones that I grew up with, like a bunch of people, we all know that. But we also know, that's why I say for the first young lady, two things can be true at the same time. Tribalism exists. And tribalism exists on the continent. Tribalism exists within Black America, but Black Americans are disrespected by non-FBA, and non-FBA are disrespected by Black Americans. Two things exist at the same time, but we have to understand the history of this and the mindset behind this. The bulk of them will not see themselves the same as us, because look at all the infighting that's happening on the continent. Like, when's the last time one group of Black people in America tried to commit genocide to another group of Black people in America?
I think,
well, those are the gangs.
but I think the thing that Black people in America have to, and I like what PC said, because it reminds me of something I used to say, which is that Black people are Frankenstein's monsters.
Yeah, Black people in America, yes.
We are Frankenstein's monster of a people. We're the newest people to be created. We're still very much children in terms of culture in the world. And we still have a very childish view of the world. And that comes across like, and this is not a shot to anybody, but even the way we understand Pan-Africanism,
yeah,
is very simplistic for most of us. I've met several Black people that have a very in-depth and nuanced view of Pan-Africanism. I'm on the line with two of them. But on the whole, and we're even seeing this play out now with Kamala Harris. She's got some melanin, so she's one of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many times have you bumped into a little kid that said, you have my nose, you must be like me? Or you see, they find some real, you as an adult, you understand this to be an insignificant thing in the grand scheme of what the child is connecting. We see this all the time. But for whatever reason, because of our youngness in terms of our cultural maturity and our global perspective, we see other people. It's funny too, because I know I'm on a tangent. I'm being real murder moot right now, but it's funny too, because like my boys and I, we're watching the Olympics, right? And it was like, and then we're watching the show on Netflix with the Black people with powers, right? Good show, by the way. I forget the name of it, but we noticed you can't necessarily say all Black people across the spectrum look the same no more. Black people from the UK have a distinct look now. They don't look like Black Americans. Black people from France have a distinct look. They don't look like Black Americans. And to my eyes, yes, those people could be relatives. I'm not saying they look that different, but I am saying that when you really sit down and pay attention, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, we used to say that you couldn't really tell the difference between a Black from the UK and a Black from America. I don't know if that was just my eyes being young, and now I've been exposed to more Blacks from different locations. But nowadays, you can look at them and you can see, you might not know where that Black person is from, but you know that they're not a Black American.
Right, certain phenotypes, yeah.
So I think all of these things come into play, and as we continue to grapple with these things, one of the pieces of maturity that has to come into play is this understanding that, like, I think what PC was saying, I'm just saying it another way, we're allowed to have an identity that is ours.
Right. It's okay to be Black from America. It's okay.
Right. It's okay to be a Black American or a Black, whatever we choose to call ourselves, because some of us have a problem with Black, with the American tag attached to the Black. That's cool. But whatever we decide to call ourselves, it's okay for us to call ourselves that, and then to differentiate ourselves from other Black people. That don't mean that I dislike Black people from the Caribbean. That don't mean that I don't see some ways that, say, a Jamaican could help, and that I could help a Jamaican, but that is to recognize that Jamaican culture is different from Black American culture, and that we are inherently two different groups of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me jump right in there real quick, man, because I remember being a freshman in Bloomsburg University, and we had a speaker come in, famous Caribbean author Jamaica Kincaid, and she was, I had bought her book, and we were in the crowd asking questions, and I asked her, well, what does it mean to you to be a black woman, growing up in these days and times? And she said, well, honestly, I never looked at myself as being black. I'm more concerned about being a woman. And then, so I immediately gave her book to somebody else because I was pissed off when she said that shit. I ain't gonna lie. But I'm a radical ass 1993. But but in regards to what she later said, she said my entire island is full of black people, so we never really had to encounter what you encounter in regards to race. And at that time, I was really too immature to understand what she was saying. But it's more along the lines of what the latter young lady was saying in the video we just watched. In regards of prioritizing race and culture and those different things. You know what I'm saying? I still don't totally agree with what she said, but at least I have an understanding as to why she said it and framed it the way she did. Because I thought she was pandering to the white audience at that particular time. Yeah, and I still think she was.
Like, and that's a great point, because but understanding too, like for me, I don't agree with the way the girl was making the point she was making. I understand the point, and I do agree with the general concept of the point, but I disagree with the narrative that is painted potentially by the point. And I strongly disagree with her conclusion, which is that Africans that live in America long enough will come to this place of compassion. One, it speaks to it kind of paints this narrative that we need you to come to a place of compassion, or we want you to come to a place of compassion, or this narrative that when Africans from the continent come to America, they'll achieve this place of compassion that will make them be more beneficial and acquiesce more or more advantageous to Black Americans. And I disagree. I disagree with that whole line of thinking. One, I don't think that living in America makes African immigrants more compassionate. If anything, I think it hardens their stance, because as they align with white supremacy and reap the benefits of that alliance, it perpetuates further hatred.
Right.
So it doesn't even make sense. But then on another level, how does that compassion benefit Black Americans? And do Black Americans really want them to be compassionate? I don't think we do.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. I was just about to say, because okay, you have the compassion, but the compassion never turns into anything tangible. Because think about, why are we having this conversation in the first place?
Well, you think about. I'm sorry, Joe.
No, go ahead.
Well, you think about it too, right? Well, first of all, it speaks from a place of it speaks from a place of thinking that you're better than us.
Right.
So you have to sort of
not to say that.
Right. Right. But that's what it is. We're better than you because we were able to get closer to white people than you. So we're better than you. Because look at, like she said, the sacrifice that we've made. Hey, lady, don't come up here and talk about sacrifice like you're the only ones in sacrifice. And that's one thing I don't.
Good, Joe. I'm sorry.
That's one thing I don't like when I'm talking to people who've immigrated to America. They make it seem the image that they have of Black Americans is the same old. We lazy, we ain't do nothing, we crying about nothing. And everybody else, even the immigrants, could come over here with nothing and then do better than us. And that's us not understanding how the government works and not understanding. Now we know, now the secret is out. Now with this election, we know people be getting money, people be getting government stipends, people be getting help from the government. Now we know that. And it's out.
Oh, it's out in the open. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I remember having conversations like 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago with people, and people from other races, other countries, and I'm having to educate them on government funding and government help to people, and the government took from us and gave to you. Like, so don't come up here talking about we're lazy, we don't need this, we don't need that. Like, you all are here in America because of the destructive mindsets of the people in your people in your countries. All Black people throughout the African diaspora have destructive mindsets. All of us. Your destruction was so bad that it caused you to have to come over here. Our destruction is bad, but where we going? We ain't got nowhere to go. So we got to make it right. We got to stick here and make it right. You all have places to go to escape it. We have nowhere to go, so we have to make it right. I.e., that's how you all are able to be here in the first place. Because like I said earlier, throughout the 50 states, we had to look at ourselves as one and come together and create something that was advantageous for ourselves, which turned out to not just be advantageous for ourselves, but advantageous for Black people throughout the diaspora.
Well, we definitely made it where this is a desired location for people of African descent because of the things that we did and fought for in this particular country, which even inspired independence movements throughout those countries as they fought off colonization. Every one of the African leaders pointed to watching the American freedom fighters and taking their cues from there and their inspiration from there. Here I go again. But I'm gonna go back to something you said a few minutes ago, Joe, about what's happening with all these immigrants that are coming in now and how they're receiving all these stipends, money, and things of that nature. Because I stumbled across this about 12, 13 years ago when I was arguing online with the white supremacists. And they were talking about how their people were coming to America with nothing. They were able to build themselves up. And I started saying, how in the hell could you just come here with nothing and then you end up with an art gallery or a music studio and all those different things? You taught people how to dance, classical music. So I started researching and I learned about tax treaty laws. Because I went through the IRS tax codes, all the entire codes. I couldn't find it. But I started learning about tax treaty laws. And tax treaty laws are just what you said. When immigrants come to this particular country, they are offered a stipend. They are given 10 years, typically they average about 10 years tax abatements where they don't have to pay taxes when they come here. They get to access liens removed so that they can operate businesses that we're locked out of, corner stores, bodegas, and so forth. So when you see other groups come here, they are sponsored to come here to America. And that all started based on policies going way back to the end of the Civil War and the Reconstruction era, when all the skilled laborers who were Black left those plantations and started building up other towns. And so that's how they put together. I'm trying to think of the act, but there was an act where they invited all of these different immigrants. Bring us your hunger, your tired, your huddle masters yearning to be free, to Ellis Island, and all the other shit. That was part of it, because they needed to build up a skilled labor class because American towns were falling apart, and they had to pay Black laborers, and they didn't want to.
Sound familiar, don't it?
Right. So
borders are.
So when you look at what we've been able to build here, and the fact that black people, foundationally Black Americans, were able to create the environment that made it possible for other people of color, be it African or Latino, to come into this country and have opportunities in the neighborhoods that we live in. Because you don't get busted into white neighborhoods. You don't get busted into Jewish neighborhoods. Yep. You get set up in our neighborhoods. And so I think there needs to be some understanding. I think there needs to be some more grace. And I think people need to let go of their arrogance. And I think, honestly, too, when we look at this whole dynamic, we need to let go of our cowardice.